Greetings and salutations. My name is Michael Schwahn, and this is your one-take review of Resident Evil 3 Remake. Now, I never played the original Resident Evil 3. I didn't really have access to it back in the day. I was too busy playing Final Fantasy VII. So I also have limited Resident Evil experience, although recently that's been starting to expand quite a bit. I started out with Resident Evil 4 on the GameCube, and then I enjoyed PlayStation 3's Resident Evil 5, and then I didn't really touch anything in the franchise until we had a community redeem for me to play all the way through Resident Evil 7, and in the time since, I have also played Resident Evil 2. I actually did a full review of Resident Evil 2 Remake, having not played the original. I'll leave a link down to that review if you want to see what my thoughts are in the description below. Now, also, when I was doing that Resident Evil 2 review, throughout the entire review, I was mostly comparing it to Resident Evil 4 because that's the game that I had played multiple times and enjoyed, and with this review for Resident Evil 3, I'm going to be more making comparisons of Resident Evil 3 versus Resident Evil 2, as I feel like that's a better comparison and also where my mind's going to be jumping to, especially since I played Resident Evil 2 so recently. So in Resident Evil 3, you play as Jill Valentine, and it takes place at the same place at the same time as Resident Evil 2. It takes place in Raccoon City, right at the height of the T-virus outbreak. And one of the neat things about this is that it happens synchronicity. That's not the right word, but it's the word we're going with. It happens like right at the same time as Leon. You can see where, oh, Leon hasn't been here yet, or things along those lines. It's adjacent to it. A lot of the story takes place in like Raccoon City streets, and instead of being pursued by Mr. X, you're being pursued by Nemesis. Now, Jill is an ex-STARS member and already has kind of an idea of what's going on with Umbrella, but is just trying to get away from the outbreak that is taking place in Raccoon City. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, though. First, I want to talk about the gameplay. Now, obviously, the gameplay is very similar. It is a third-person shooter. You have these relative tank controls. You are grounded to your spot when you are taking shots. But the most distinctive difference between Resident Evil 3 and Resident Evil 2, in my opinion, is that zombies take considerable less damage to permanently put down in RE3 versus RE2. Because one of my largest complaints in RE2 is that as Leon, you'd shoot things like 7 or 8 times and then knife them and knife them and knife them, and then you'd have to shoot them again, and then finally they wouldn't move anymore. And I still feel like it takes too many bullets in RE3, but it takes 3 or 4 bullets from Jill's pistol in the head, they fall over, you stab them once or twice with the knife, they do the ugh, and they do not get back up. They never get back up. They don't give you like fake death where you shot them and they fall over and then you stab them, they go ugh, and then sure enough 15 seconds later you turn around and they're getting back up. No, once they're down, they're down. And speaking of knifing enemies when they're down, Jill starts with an infinite durability knife. There are not extra knives. You're not pulling knives out of walls or off of police officers and having this weird durability mechanic with the knife. No, infinite durability right from the beginning. Thank you. I appreciate it immensely. I know that they go back to a durability knife in RE4, but apparently it's repairable or something like that. So we'll see how that goes and feels when we actually get there. However, later in the game, you play as Carlos, and Carlos goes to some of the places that Leon will eventually get to. He goes back to the RPD police station, and he also has a section that's in a separate hospital. And I don't know where the design like broke down here, but so Carlos has an AR-15, right? He has an assault rifle, and AR-15 shoot 5.56 by 45 NATO rounds, okay? These are high pressure rounds that they do immense amount of damage. I don't know if you've ever seen what kind of damage a 5.56 round does to a human body. I do not recommend looking it up, but if you have not seen what they do to a human body, they have to use fingerprints and DNA to identify people because the bodies have been turned into red pulp, okay? It turns you into a bunch of squishy mist, all right? Not quite literally mist, but it eviscerates the human body, okay? And for some reason, Jill's pistol shooting zombies in the head, it's like boom, 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 down, like 3 or 4 bullets. Meanwhile, Carlos must be an airsoft gun, or he's got rubber bullets or something, because literally you are putting 5 to 10 bullets of a AR-15's 5.56 rounds into a single zombie's head before they fall over. And then you have to knife them. Like, I literally felt like I was playing Leon again. And I'm like, what is it with dudes and their inability to kill zombies in this game? Why is your gun so weak? The fact that Carlos's AR-15 was doing so little damage and was so ineffective at dispatching enemies compared to Jill's pistol was mind-blowing and frustrating, because all of it, everything that I was annoyed with trying to dispatch enemies in RE2 was coming back in RE3 when I played as Carlos. And it's weird because you'll play as Carlos for a little while and then you go back to playing as Jill and bam, immediately back to the mechanics before, like 3 or 4 pistol shots to the head outside of special circumstances, 1 or 2 knives, and the zombie is done. It is not getting back up. I don't understand. And it's weird because, like, initially I was like, are the zombies in the RPD police department just stronger? Like, is that what it is? Are they just more powerful for some reason? But then you get to the hospital and the zombies are still stupid strong and you're like, okay, no. And then you take over as Jill in that same hospital and the same zombies you just fought don't take as much damage. Like, they take more damage. They're quicker to kill. And I don't understand. Like, does Jill do more damage? Is there specialized Jill damage? Like, is it because she's a member of STARS? I don't understand. I mean, freaking Carlos is a member of the Umbrella Corps Special Forces or whatever, right? And it just made this problem way more clear because I'm emptying dozens and even near hundreds of rounds of freaking 5.56 into these zombies, and I switch back to Jill and immensely feels better because I am able to just remove targets in 3 or 4 shots to the head and 1 or 2 knife hits. I don't understand. Enemies feel approachable as Jill, and it felt stupid as Carlos, and I do not understand this design decision. The difference of weapons did not seem to make any type of sense, especially because, like, when you played as Leon in RE2, the shotgun head's gone. The head just disappears in a mist, right? Which, that's how shotguns work. And then you also have, like, the Lightning Hawk, the 45 Magnum, the Desert Eagle looking weapon, and it also one shot to the head, bam, removes targets with no problem. But then Carlos, it's just like, I don't understand how this works. And, I understand it's a game and games are games, but when there's this heavy of a disconnect, it is just so weird to me, and it was so hard for me to grasp. Now, I will repeat my argument from the RE2 review of that I would really like these games or games like this to take a different approach of enemies taking less shots, but you just providing me with less ammo. And I think the reason that they don't do that is for the reason of enemy pressure, because if enemies only took like 1 to 2 shots to dispatch, even when there's 3 of them, if you're lining up your shots and using your ammo effectively, those enemies won't get much of a chance to get to you. Whereas if there's like 2 or 3 zombies and it takes 4 to 8 shots for them to even fall over, not die, fall over, that's a lot more distance that they cover, right? And I get that that's probably what they were going for, but I still don't like it. I would rather you cut the amount of ammo that I have by half. Instead of giving me 4 bullets, give me 2, and make the zombies, instead of taking 4 bullets, take 1 or 2. It would feel better, it would be more immersive, and it would really lessen this personal complaint of mine. I don't know if anyone else has this complaint, but man, it's a big one for me. Now, also in gameplay though, let's talk about the difference in pursuers, okay? Because you have Mr. X in RE2 and Nemesis in RE3. And these pursuers have completely different tones, okay? Mr. X was this foreboding, unstoppable force. He could not be stopped. He could not be slowed down. He could technically be stunned, but let's set that to the side, okay? He just continuously walked towards you, and he walked, right? I mean, he had a brisk pace, but he just walked. He didn't run. He didn't do anything wild. He's just like, no, you can't stop me. I will keep walking towards you. I will get to you eventually. So run, Leon. Do your best. There's nothing you can do. And then Nemesis is similar, but on the opposite side of this foreboding doom, this horrendous storm cloud. He instead is this explosive force that you just have no ability to be able to contend with. He runs, he jumps, and it is hilarious in the I'm laughing because I'm scared kind of way. You'll be like, holy shit, he just like monster leaped over everything, took out 3 zombies in the process of his jump, and is now slamming me with his tentacles. And you're like, I don't know what to do about that. I don't even know how to run from that, because I thought I was gonna run away. I was like, I'm gonna run towards that gate. Motherfucker leaped over my head, crashed into the wall, and is looking at me like, you don't get to take this way. I hope you had another plan, because you ain't taking this one. And I was like, I don't know what to do. He's horrifying. He's terrifying. But he's so powerful and so scary that he's hilarious, because you will be running and he'll just jump over top of you and slide through those zombies, and you're just like, holy shit, what do I do? Or like I said, you'll be running towards the gate and he will leap and he will cover the top of the gate with his whole body because he's holding onto the wall, and you just feel helpless because this force is so strong and so fast. It's terrifying. Mr. X is the unstoppable impending doom, and Nemesis is just complete shock and awe. And it is awesome and awe-inspiring. Although, I will say Nemesis wasted so many opportunities to kill you. Like, there's so many times that he, like, picks Jill up by her head, and all he would have to do is just flex his fingers, and he doesn't. Instead, he just, like, throws her. But speaking of that, is there something I don't know about the Resident Evil universe about humans being more durable? Because, like, in RE2, Leon gets beat up pretty bad. Sure, right? Like, he falls off of a ladder and he gets, like, punched here and there. But, and he gets shot in the shoulder, but most of what he sustains feels within the realm of a suspension of disbelief of what a human body could go through. Do I believe that Leon probably has a couple broken ribs, maybe, you know, like some hairline fractures in his legs, and probably needs a whole lot of physical therapy? Absolutely. Then we got Jill, okay? I don't understand what Jill is on, but Jill is superhuman. Jill gets kicked through cement walls, thrown off of buildings, crushed through things, blown up. She gets sent flying by a rocket launcher. Nemesis abuses the hell out of Jill, just slamming her through things, throwing her. Like, I don't know how Jill was able to walk at most points in this game. But you know what? That's okay. This game was bombastic and crazy, and I feel like that was just what it was meant to be doing. But again, I don't know if humans are supposed to be more durable in RE universe, and it would explain, if so, why the zombies take more bullets. But regardless, Jill is a superhuman force that is ridiculously powerful. So let's talk about the visuals of the game, though. This game is gorgeous, and you know, it's interesting to me because I don't know what the controversy was around RE3. I know RE3 came out very soon after RE2 in terms of the remakes. I'm not sure about the original releases, and I'm not sure where the problem is, because this game, if it came out, like if it was rushed, it looks great, especially Jill's character model. The character models in RE2 were really good. Leon and Ada, they looked great. But Jill, and specifically Jill, the amount of work that they did to make her face look as good as it does, and I'm not talking like, part of me was like, that sounds like some plastic surgery shit. This is one of the most impressive character models that exists in video games that I have ever seen. Now, I've seen some of the stuff in RE4, and it looks like they've done a fantastic job there. But the sheer amount of quality in terms of like the subsurface scattering to make Jill's skin look like skin, and the amount of work in her hair versus RE2's Leon to RE3's Jill, it's insanely impressive. Leon looked good. Jill in some of these close-up cutscenes is mind-blowing. The face and hair work is absolutely captivating. And everything else looks great, right? We talked about in the RE2 how Capcom's RE engine, it is just ridiculous, the stuff that they are doing with this engine. Like, they absolutely just captured lightning in a bottle, and instead of trying to capture it again, are just using that lightning to power all of their projects, since things like Exoprimal and Street Fighter 6 and stuff are all working in the RE engine as well. Monster Hunter Rise was done in the RE engine. And seeing what they've done in terms of the trailers that I've seen from RE4, it is only further cementing just how much of a powerful tool they have at their disposal. And it looks like with RE2, they really were like, look at what we can do. And then they asked themselves, what else can we do? And they pushed it even farther with RE3. The environments are beautiful. The enemies look great. Unfortunately, because they're disgusting and I'm not a big fan of them, and Nemesis is terrifying. Let's talk about the audio and the dialogue, because this is one of the things that where we're also going to talk a little bit about the storyline and progression. So the voice work, still great, still fantastic. Jill is commanding, and I will say that I appreciate Jill as a character so very, very much, because Jill is doing what I wished that Leon would have done the entire game. The only thing that Jill is trying to do is leave. That's all she wants to do. She's like, I need to get out of this city. And there's this big, stupid tentacle monster that won't let me. He won't let me leave. I thought I was going to get away. I got onto a train. And then you know what the bastard did? He blew up the whole fucking train. So now I don't get to leave. And now I'm having to deal with all these other problems. And then I got wrapped up in this. And now they're going to nuke the city. And what do? I just want to leave. And I appreciate you for that, Jill. I appreciate you for acting like a realistic human being, because Leon, I love you, but you're a freaking moron. Carlos is solid too, although I laughed very hard at myself because I thought Carlos was Chris Redfield, because I know Chris Redfield from RE5, right? And I know that he's even mentioned at the beginning of the game because he was a fellow Stars member and stuff, right? And I was like, I'd seen Carlos on the box and was like, I don't know what Chris looks like in this game, because Chris always looks different from one game to the next, right? And like you also see Chris at the end of RE7 and he looks completely different from the way he looks in RE5. Regardless, moving past that, I thought Carlos was Chris Redfield. Nope, definitely not. Carlos is his own guy. Turns out though that Carlos is in RE3 and nothing else. I even had to look it up. I'm like, what happens to Carlos like in any other game? Dude's not in any other game. Dude retires to South America and is never heard from again. Apparently he's still alive. Minor spoiler, I guess, sorry. But yeah, so Carlos was a cool guy. He seemed neat. I liked him. He was an alright character. He's solid as well. I mean, he's got a little bit of the dumb brain that Leon has, but at least he's a little bit more put together than Leon is, at least in comparison of RE2 versus RE3. Music, again, in this game is phenomenal, although most of it is environmental. It's about setting tone. It's tonal music outside of the higher energy boss slash chase sequences that involve Nemesis chasing you down. And I don't know, again, where the issues are. I really enjoyed basically this entire game from beginning to end. I enjoyed Resident Evil 3 overwhelmingly more than I enjoyed RE2. I do think that they are both great games, but they are great for different reasons, okay? This game still has some of the issues that I had with RE2. Jill does play better than Leon. The mechanics of this game and the TTK felt a lot better. There's that really bad Carlos segment. And for a number, I gave RE2 an 8 out of 10. And I would give that same number for RE3. But they are getting the same score for different reasons. RE2... they feel like almost slightly different genres of games. RE2 had this really immersive style, especially when you're an RPD. Outside of the irritations with Leon, you feel so low power and at the mercy of the mansion, not hospital, church that you're like locked inside of, that RPD has been repurposed of, and you feel like a rat in a maze, and it has a significantly better story. While I enjoyed Jill's story a lot, it's just like, run away, try to survive, I don't know what's happening and I don't care. And it's all about just trying to get away from Nemesis and get out of the city. And that's fine, right? But it's also not entirely interesting either. There's not very many story beats in RE3 that I'm like, oh yeah, that was a cool moment, right? RE2 had cool moments. It had meaningful moments where I don't feel like RE3 had any meaningful moment at all in terms of like story impact. Like, I felt like RE3 was really well written, but it was written like an action movie, and RE2 was written like a suspense thriller, and I feel like RE2's story was significantly more interesting for that, where RE3 was just in a like fun adventure, right? So RE2 had better immersion and a better story overall, but RE3 I feel like had an immensely better presentation of its gameplay. It was a lot more fun to play. There was a lot of moments in RE2 where I was just doing stuff for the sake of progressing, where in RE3 I think I was having fun the entire time. The only immediate part that came to mind where I was like, I don't care for this segment, is in like the gross flesh maze where you gotta like turn on all the generators and stuff like that. Didn't care for that section too much, but otherwise I just really had a blast with RE3 from the very beginning to the very end. In terms of which one I enjoyed more, absolutely RE3. And I wouldn't say that either of the games is better than the others. It's strictly going to come down to the type of game that you want, the type of experience that you want, because they do deliver completely different experiences. But that has been my experience with RE3. I would be very willing to replay RE3, whereas I don't care to replay through RE2, except for maybe to check out Claire's storyline, because we didn't play through it. Anyway, so that's my thoughts on RE3. Let me know what your thoughts are. Leave them down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If you can share with me like a summarization of what the controversy difference was between the two, I would love to know that information. I could probably Google it, but I also probably won't. So if you want to share it with me, I'll absolutely read your comment and we can have a conversation about it. Our next review is going to be on Bayonetta Origins, Cereza and the Lost Demon, the latest entry in the Bayonetta franchise. So if you want to catch that, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you enjoyed this video, or if you didn't, leave it a like or a dislike. I appreciate it a lot. And that's it, everybody. So I do stream on Twitch. We actually played all of Resident Evil 3 on stream, so there will be a playthrough available on the VODs channel if you want to catch that. But otherwise, if you do watch one of the other videos on the channel, or if I see you in the live stream, thank you and enjoy.